Guess who's back? Back again. It's me, Eagle. Quack. I'm still not in the desert. It's kind of cold. I must say, I just came home. I've been gone all day, and I came into my room, and the first thing I was like, "Oh my god, it really smells in here. How am I ever going to sleep in here?" And then I found out that when you sleep, you can smell, or you smell less. I don't know what's exactly. I'm not a scientist. I'm Batman. I know 2 weeks ago I promised that last week Cobra would be uploading an episode, but she didn't. Obviously. That's because Cobra does have a life, and me not so much. Yeah, it's kind of sad, I know. It was really funny because I told her 2 weeks ago, like, you're probably not gonna do it, and at first she was really butthurt, like, oh my god, how do you dare to say that about me? And then after a while she was like, well, yeah, you're probably right. So there's a tiny chance that she recorded it, but she never put it online. But I did because I have less of a life. Sorry for that silence, I had to burp. My recommendation of a story this week is, again, just like last week, 2 weeks ago, is going to, well, this week, my recommendation is Twist and Shout. And not Twist and Shout, the song by the Beatles, but Twist and Shout, the fanfiction. You can find it on archiveofourown.org. I'll link it in the description. And it's a beautiful written fanfiction about Destiel, Dean, and Castiel, the ship from Supernatural. They're amazing. If you ship them or have anything to do with the Supernatural fandom, you've probably already heard of Twist and Shout, because it's kind of, well, it's the fanfiction if you think about it, and it will make you cry, or I don't know you, so, but it made me cry, and it's a really sad one, and I'm gonna let you go in blank, but I cried very fast, and that's why I recommended this one this week, because we're gonna talk about crying, or at least the problem crying is or was, or I don't know. I think the best thing to start this whole thing is with a story about me. Oh, I love talking about me, and I'm great at telling stories, so that's why I'm gonna tell you a story. In a world, I'm not that good at that. Um, but when I was a kid, I rarely cried. Like, only when I was really hurt, or I don't know. But I didn't cry that much. And recently, or like, I think it started at my 16th birthday. Now, I remembered that when I was a kid and I didn't cry, I was psychopath. But like those things, like really bad things, like hurting, that made me cry, or whatever. But I didn't really understand. Of course, things would affect me, but I didn't really understand the point of crying. And I remember as a kid that I used to, that me and my sister once got into a fight, and then my mom sent us to sit in the hallway, being like, well, you can't get out of here until you apologized. And then my sister started crying and apologizing, and my mom was like, okay, you can come out. And I was just like, okay, so I should cry too. And then I started fake crying, or at least I was like, oh, I love you so much, I'm so sorry. And my mom was like, you're faking it. And I was like, well, she's probably faking it too. How can you cry about this? I really didn't understand, because I am a psychopath. I'm not a psychopath. And I don't know, I really never really understand. So when I was a kid, crying was this privilege. When you cried, you get what you want, but I couldn't cry as a kid. Or I could cry, but not about stupid things. And I think it was when I turned 16, around that age, all of a sudden, everything made me cry. Like, a sad story, a happy story, a right commercial. It's really bad. I watched the music video of So What by Pink yesterday, and it made me cry. Really, it made me cry. It was like, oh, it's so sad she lost her husband. She wants to start a fight. So it was really, really bad. But growing up as a kid, I really, crying could get you privileges and stuff like that. So I didn't really understand that crying is a bad thing. But apparently, it is coming to an exception that. Like about 2 weeks ago, I told you I had a really bad week 2 weeks ago, and at one point I came home and I just went to the kitchen and I started crying because I just was so stressed and frustrated with some things. And that evening I got into a fight with my little brother, which I get a lot these days. And one of the first things he says is, "Are you gonna cry again in the kitchen?" or something. And I was just like, I was so slept out of oblivion because when I was crying, he wasn't even there. So apparently, my sister was there. She was in the living room. So apparently, it's such a weird thing or a strange thing to cry that my sister told my little brother in the span of 2 hours, and my little brother thought it was a reason to make fun of me. And I really don't understand. I really don't understand what's bad about crying, and maybe that's because I grew up as a psychopath or not. I don't know. But please tell me, is it a bad thing to cry a lot? I don't know. Yeah, I know when you cry a lot, with no reasons and really like, yeah, I would call that annoying thing at least, and wouldn't as soon call it bad, but I would be annoyed by someone who gets a bit at every moment of the day would be crying, but someone who's just like affected. If you cry, you're affected by something, and if that's in a good way or a bad way, that's just in the middle. But you're showing that you care, and is it a bad thing that you care, or is it a bad thing? I don't know. I really don't. So yeah, it's the thing, I said it, I just said it, and I will say it again. I get into a fight a lot the past few days, weeks, especially with my family, and then every time afterwards, you've got this adrenaline, and of course, they're screaming at you. And FYI, I don't scream in fights. I'm the person who's really silent and acts like they don't care. I do care. It's not like I'm this cool person in a fight who's just like, I don't care what I want, because that's absolutely not me. But I always really want to have the upper hands in fights, and as my way of fighting, or at least I'm a strong person, I'm really strong, but my way of verbal fighting is verbal. So the best way I can win a fight is with my mouth, because I know what to say. But as soon as somebody starts screaming at you, screaming is never the way out, because then one starts, oh my god, where's my phone, sorry. It scared me. But as soon as one starts screaming and you start screaming, you're just screaming at each other, and no one is really hearing what you say. So I just always just keep silence and try to look smug until the person left or I left, and then I start crying, because I'm affected. I'm always affected when I'm getting into a fight. Sometimes it's really weird, because at some points I really do not care, and at some points I care too much about the fight. So it's kind of weird, but then I cry afterwards fight, and then sometimes people see me cry, and next time I'm in a fight, I get that back, and they're like, are you gonna cry again? And then I'm just like, what's so bad about crying? What is so bad or about the fact that you made me cry? What's so good about it? I mean, of course, yeah, what you said affected me and made me cry. That's a good reason to smash that back into my face. you know really a lot about yourself. I don't know. It is something, and I'm wondering if it's just me, if it's just my family who believes crying is a bad thing, or if it's everywhere. And I might not get this answer because I got like 1 view on the last video, but if you hear this and you have the answer, please give it to me because I don't know anymore. Yeah. But beside of that, it was a really depressive one. But beside of that, I'm doing really good actually, because I had like the worst week in my life 2 weeks ago, and this week is going great. I got my new phone, which I dropped almost immediately and is broken again, but that doesn't matter. Always look at the bright side of life. And I'm getting my new bike next week, and Supernatural starting again this October, and the Welcome to Night Vale novel is coming out this October, which I pre-ordered, and you should do too. Even if you do not know Welcome to Night Vale, go pre-order it now. No, you shouldn't. You should not spend $30 on something you don't know. But get to know it. It's great. I'll probably recommend it at some point because Welcome to Night Vale. Love it. So, you know, I'm a happy person, and I'm looking at the bright side of life. Isn't that the song? Like, always look at the bright side of life. Yeah. Okay, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, and I might see Cobra in 1 week, but I don't know. I'm gonna cry. Okay, bye. No, I'm not gonna cry yet. I don't know. Okay. Okay, bye. Have a good one.